Make sure we're rolling, right?
We're rolling. Yes.
Okay, let's do this.
All right, yeah. So welcome to Blues and Beyond with Jim Carty, Miss Joanna Connor.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
And you're from Worcester.
I'm from Worcester.
Tell me about your early days in Worcester.
Oh boy. No, can I say this on the air? No, I'm kidding.
Well,
no,
I mean, the two big bands were the Pinot Band
Yeah.
and the Jake Hiles Band.
Yeah. That's
Really,
true.
those were the two big
Yeah.
bands at that time. Tell me about the scene and what was going on then.
I was a little bit younger than the Pinot brothers, believe
Yeah.
it or not. About 13, 14 years younger. But I started off playing. With
So
Dick-
did they hire you because of that, or
Yeah.
you're playing?
they saw me playing with another band, and they said, we'd like to have you on board. And they had a gig at Ralph Steiner,
Uh-huh.
and my
Still
band was
cooking?
still there. So we played there every Friday night, and it was a great training for me.
Yeah.
And Babe was really big, and Kenny, and I met the Jay Giles band because they knew
Of
them.
course.
And so playing there every
Danny
Friday.
Klein
for
really
years.
loved the Pinot Band, as I
Yes.
recall. Yeah.
Yeah, part of it. Yeah, so it was nice, and I grew up listening to them, so it was a privilege. So we eventually Babe left and did his own band, and
Yeah.
then Kenny Pino and I had our band, the Pino Connor Band, and we
Mm-hmm.
continued at Ralph's, and then we had musicians like Bob Fabulous, people more from the Boston area.
How nice to drop
I
right in,
know,
and
drop
like
in.
it's like you never miss a beat after a couple minutes, right?
Yeah, a couple minutes. And we had Kenny Johnson, who played drums for James Cotton. So he moved to Northampton.
Yeah.
So it was really a great band. But I went to Chicago. Actually, Kenny and I, we went on a cross-country trip. My grandparents lived in California, and we said, let's go to Chicago. Because in Boston, I was underage. But I used to go to Jonathan Swift's, and
Sure.
I saw like Sun Seals and Albert Collins and Big Twist and the Mellow Fellows and Lonnie Brooks, and it goes on and on. I would James Cotton all the time because Cotton played here all the time, and I was like, man, that Chicago blues is what I love. And I went there when I was 19 and snuck into clubs again, and I said, you know what, I'm moving here. And a few years later, I left my band, and we had a nice band. We were working, but I was like, I want to go to Chicago. I was more of a singer and a rhythm guitarist. I didn't play lead guitar at all. And I said, I want to go to Chicago. I want to learn how to play guitar. And then I met people like Anthony Palmer, who's sitting next to me right now. And he was in a band with it was called Professor's Blues Review. And they went to Europe with Otis Rush and
Right.
backed up a lot. So we met each other. And actually, I got my own gig. Well, I started off with Dion Payton and the 43rd Street Blues Band at the Checkerboard Lounge, which was Buddy Guy's club. We were the house band. Then we were the house band of the Kingston Mines up north. And the owner of the Kingston Mines in 1988 said to me, I want to give you your own night. And I was like, I didn't even have my own band.
Wow.
And then a year later, Blind Pig came along, and then I hired Tony and a guy named Brian Jones on drums, who's played on tons of sessions, and Stan Mixon on bass, who's with Sun Seals, who left Sun Seals to play with me. And it goes on, and here I am.
And I mean, when I hear this band, as I said earlier, a quintessential Chicago blues band. Like, I mean, now you're kind of the it generation. The Bad Axe is gone. Lonnie
Yeah.
Brooks is in his 80s. Jimmy
Yeah.
Johnson is in his 80s. All these guys I grew up listening
Yeah.
to, sneaking into the clubs too. And you shared the stage with every one of them, as well as Buddy Guy, Junior Wells.
Yeah.
Tell me one or two good stories from the stage, like who you backed up, really loved, and who was a fucking jerk. Who was awful?
Oh, that part's fun. No, well, I have a lot of good stories, but one really funny story about Junior.
Yeah.
Well, I'll start with one about.
There's always a junior story.
Everyone has a Junior Wells story. So I was playing at the Kingston Mines, and we were with Dion on one stage, and the other stage was Junior Wells.
Yeah.
And I was pregnant with my first child, my son. I was really.
You brought your
pregnant.
baby to the King's
Oh, he was in my belly under my Stratocaster, and Junior Wells told the whole audience that was his baby.
I bet.
So, fast forward about 4 years later, my son and I are in Europe playing in Netherlands, and Junior is backstage, and my son is following him everywhere. I'm like, no, this really isn't your child. This is not the Immaculate Conception. So that's a good story. And then Buddy Guy, when I first moved to Chicago and played with Dion.
Junior had some road babies, though, I'm sure.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
He had game.
Yeah, he did.
And he was dressed so well, my
Those
son was
suits, man,
fascinated.
those
The
suits.
suits.
Oh,
He
my
was in
God.
blue and white from head to toe, like hat to shoes. And my son loved that.
They called them fines back in those days.
Yeah. Yeah. And I played with Buddy Guy a lot, and he
Yeah.
called me up to do a guitar battle, and I was like 22, and I was like ready to pass out.
Yeah, man.
I saw him at Clark University when I was 10 years old
Wow.
in Worcester, and I told him that. He said, "Don't make me feel old." But anyway, so that was great. Another great story was I got to play with Jimmy Page
Wow.
in Chicago, and he kept forgetting what key we were in, but he was awesome.
Just say no. So
Just say
Nancy
no.
Reagan
I know, he
said,
won't
just
go-
so you know, say no, buddy.
He was awesome though,
Right
and
on. He's
I don't
fucking
want
Jimmy
to
Page.
give any jerk stories, but there's a
Yeah,
few.
yeah.
There were some rough times, you know. They're like, "What are you doing here?" kind of thing.
Right, right.
But
Well,
lot
I
of
mean,
good stuff.
to be now the generation that's probably the most vital and seasoned, and really know what that post-war
Yeah.
blues era was all about. You're kind of the youngest
yeah,
generation that was so hooked into that thing.
yes,
And you're like really the last link to the real stuff.
The real
Honestly,
stuff.
there's so
Yeah.
few people left out here that know your craft the way you do. It's
Thank you.
amazing. And I was talking to Lance. I told him I was so grateful to go out to Chicago Blues Fest and see Detroit Junior one last time
Yeah.
before he passed.